Okay, that's really good. Okay, let's get started. I think what we'll do is we'll start with a manufacturing basis of what lean is, and then I'll get into a little bit of a discussion on Jeff Liker's discussion on what he thinks lean is, and I'm going to go with Jeff Liker's way, but we'll explain it. How's that? And then what I'd like everybody to do is interrupt me at any point in time. And as you interrupt me, just ask questions, and I will stop and I'll answer questions. Now, how many of you in the room, I'm going to do this now. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to stop sharing here. I'm going to upload a file. And I'd like to know how many of you in the room think lean is about creating new behaviors or good behaviors in a company. Think about that and raise your hand and give me a count, Tom.
Hey, George, can you say that again?
How many of you think lean is about routines, creating routines and the right behaviors for an organization? How many are there, Tom?
11.
11? Okay.
Yep.
And how many raised their hand?
Let's see. 10.
Okay. And how many of you think lean is about eliminating waste?
11.
Okay. And is it the same person that didn't raise their hand?
No, this time everybody raised.
Okay, good. And how many of you think lean is about creating vision and getting there?
About half.
Leadership.
Okay. And how many of the group, Tom, knows a lot about Six Sigma?
They're learning it.
We get more than our.
Yeah, they're in their third day. They're learning hypothesis testing today.
Okay, well, that's so cool. Okay. Now, let's talk about a journey. Let's take you through a journey today. I haven't done this before, but let's talk about the journey being somebody who doesn't know anything about Lean or Six Sigma, and you want them in an elevator speech to talk about both. How do they do it in 30 seconds? Who wants to take a stab at it in the room?
Go ahead.
Lean Six Sigma to me, I raise my hand for all three components. The elimination of waste by establishing processes that help you get repeatability, right? You have that routine. You do things over and over and over. It's variance in the waste. It's a methodology for reducing waste and kind of creating routine repeatability. That's how I would position it.
Okay. Did you get that, George?
Yeah, a methodology for eliminating waste, right?
Mm-hmm.
And did you mention Six Sigma?
First thing I said, I guess I just kind of.
Okay, so I think okay, very good. First of all, very good. Did I sound convincing? Did I sound convincing? Because I should. Norman Bodek once, I don't know if you guys know Norman, he's a Six Sigma quality lean guru. And he brought lean to North America. And one day I'm in a class with him and he says, "No, that's not right." And then he hits himself in the head a couple times. He says, "Never say that, Norman. Never say that." Okay, so he's saying to himself, encourage people to ask questions. Okay, so now let's do this. Who else wants to take a stab at it? 30 seconds or less, but you got to talk loud. Let's do it.
So I like what Sandy said about the lean component in terms of establishing processes, routines, controls that help eliminate waste using some various tools. And I see the Six Sigma component as being about reducing variability to make sure that your products are, from a customer perspective, meeting their needs as often as possible.
Okay, that's really good. Excellent. Anybody else want to take a stab at it?
They're shy. I think you scared them, George.
Everybody's doing a great job. Anybody else want to take a stab at it? Come on, one more.
Okay, one of you guys online can do it too, you know. Doug?
Doug? Elaine?
I'll let Doug go with it.
Come on, Doug. Yeah, that's good. He's voluntold. That's what we call that. You're voluntold, Doug. Come on.
You got it. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
I would say Lean and Six Sigma are a set of tools and methodology to create behaviors striving for perfection.
Okay, I like that. I really do. Striving for perfection is so important. I love it, and that's one of the principles of lean thinking, as you may know. Now, very good. Now, everybody, I think, has it. If I were to explain it in 10 seconds or less, just so everybody's got this down, and if we were to talk about it from a novice perspective, we would say lean is about eliminating wasteful activities so that you're not wasting time doing things that you shouldn't be doing. And Six Sigma is about eliminating variation in a process or a product so that the product or process has less defects. Very good. Now that's basic. When you turn lean and or Six Sigma into a strategy, that strategy now can guide an organization towards operational excellence or towards perfection. And then when you think of it as a philosophy, now we're talking, wow, if it's a philosophy, how do you implement the principles of this philosophy in every business? And what I'd like to do right now is I'd like everybody to think about these principles, and I'm going to read them off to you right now. And I want you to take 1 minute, think about your business, and think about how to apply these principles. And I want like complete silence while you do it. So I'm going to wait the minute. Now here's the principles. 1, define value from your customer's perspective. I might list them here. Number 2, define the value stream. A value stream, just for definition, is all activities, value added and non-value added, that deliver a product or service to the customer. Okay, define the value stream. Number 3, make the process flow. I know you guys say process in the US. Make the process flow. Number 4, pull from the customer. And number 5, strive for perfection. Okay, I'd like everybody to take a minute, think about which one is the hardest one of these to describe. And I want at least one example from everybody. I'm not going to ask everybody. Take a minute now. I'll give you guys 30 seconds more.
So we ask is,
Yeah.
All right. Doug, Elaine, and the group. I can't see you guys very well, but what I will do is I'll ask Tom to pick somebody out. Okay, Tom, select somebody, and the question is, which one of these is hardest to implement?
It's hardest to implement,
Or
right?
at least hardest to come up with an idea of how to implement.
Okay. Alan, what do you think?
To be quite honest, I didn't hear all the options, to be quite honest.
Okay, let's go through them. And what I'll do is I'll give you examples of how I've implemented them. And what I'd like everybody to do is think of their business, take what I'm doing, think of their business, And I'd like everybody to start writing down examples. I think I'll take 10 minutes. I'll go through all of them right now. Here we go. First one, define value from the customer's perspective. One thing that Taiichi Ono found way back in Japan when he was implementing the Toyota production system was value was very difficult to define. What is value from the customer's perspective? So what he did is he actually said value is like a needle in a haystack. Why focus on the needle? Why not focus on the haystack? So what are the wastes associated to us preventing value from being delivered to the customer? What are the wastes? And one of the wastes is overproduction. Another one, waiting, transportation, inappropriate processing, unnecessary inventory, unnecessary motion, and defects. These are the 7 wastes as we know them. Tom, has the group heard of the 7 wastes before?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Now I'm going to go through a few examples of these 7 wastes, and I want everybody to write down as many examples as they have of their business. Overproduction. Producing something more than the downstream operation needs. That's what overproduction is. So if I take an example like cooking dinner for a group, and I make salad, and there's too much salad at the end of the dinner, and I gotta wrap it up, put it in the fridge, that's overproduction. That extra salad is overproduction. I've overproduced. Just to make it simple. So I want an example in your business. What's overproduction in your business? Waiting. Well, waiting has a lot of examples. Now, one thing I might be doing is waiting for an order to do work. I might only be authorized to do work in my area if I have a shop order or a service order or a customer order. I might be waiting for people, information, materials. Transportation is another one. If I have to move from one place to another and it takes me 10 minutes each trip to do 10 seconds of value added work, then that extra transportation, myself, whether it's information, whether it's materials, that's transportation waste. Here's a funny example. This is one I picked up from a consultant friend of mine. He's not a very popular man with the women, but here's going to the Gap. You would follow somebody shopping, and if you follow a male shopping, they would go into the Gap and get what they want and they'd leave. And if you follow female, he says, you would do this thing called a spaghetti diagram. You would go into every store and you'd finally get there and then you'd do your shopping. Okay, so a spaghetti diagram shows you some of the waste by, kind of outlining where the person walked. Here's an example on a manufacturing shop floor. Let me do this. Let me take you through this example, and I'd love to explain it. This is manufacturing a cylinder, and I'm going to try for a line. I'm going to try for a big red line if I can do it. Here we go. I don't know. Does this work? Can you guys see the red line, Tom?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to follow this thing called tubes. There's a tube on a cylinder. A shaft and a tube go together. And this is a real live example. A 20-foot tube went onto a material rack. From the material rack, it went onto saw, and they cut the tube to the right length. From the saw, it went onto the rack. From the rack, it went into tube drilling. They drill a hole in the tube. Then it went onto a rack. Then from the rack, it went into port weld. They would weld something on the back end of it. And then from port weld, it would go onto a rack. From the rack, it went into base plate weld. From base plate weld, the base plate is now the plate. From base plate weld, it went onto a rack. And from the rack, it went into tube CNC. They'd have a CNC machine, and they would machine it. From CNC machine, it would go onto a rack. From the rack, it would go into the robotic welding machine. From the robotic welding machine, it went onto a rack. From the rack, it got inspected, and then it went into assembly. Can everybody follow that spaghetti diagram? Tom, was that clear? Can you look?
Yeah.
Because
yeah,
the lights in the background, I can't see anybody's face.
It was clear.
All right. I got called into this consulting, this manufacturing company, and they asked me to help them lay out their plant and double the floor space because they needed it. After I did this little spaghetti diagram, I explained to them how they don't need twice the floor space, they need almost half the floor space. And they saw this and they said, wow, I can't believe we're doing this. So together, they band together and we cut the floor space in half by eliminating the racks and cutting down on what's called the manufacturing lead time by going from one step to another to another. So these machines were brought together to do the function called tube assembling, tube manufacturing. So it's a way of thinking. Any questions so far on this? Tom, look around, please, again. Any questions?
Any questions? And
Tom?
George,
Yes.
do you have any examples here in a second on like software or anything like that?
I do, but why do you think I'm asking everybody to think about their examples?
Oh, okay, got it.
I want everybody to make this connection. And this is so important. Everybody, please, if you've got lots on your mind, if your phone's ringing, put it down. Pay attention to this. Very, very important. I'm working with Dr. Jake Abraham right now. He's coming out with a new book, and I'm helping him with it. Whether I author it with him or not is another story. It's about the brain, and it's about how the brain works. And it's important that we, as leaders in a company, recognize that the brain looks for shortcuts. The brain looks for the easiest possible way to do things so it doesn't expend energy. This is a fact. And what happens is if it does expend energy, it wants a problem to solve that is worthy of its attention. That's why you're looking for examples in the software industry right now. You're saying, this is all fine, but how about how it applies to me? So definitely there's examples. I can give you examples. I want you thinking about it for a reason. I want you stretching it right now. I want you thinking about how you can apply it. I'm going to ask you questions before I give you the answers. Okay? The brain tries to get away without doing any work whatsoever. What we call this is fast thinking. We think about things really fast. Like yesterday, I was talking to somebody who is in Alberta, Canada, and I'm doing a keynote speech in June. And I said, I just lost 50 pounds in 5 months or 6 months. And he said, wow, that's incredible. I lost 80 pounds in 6 months. And I said, that's incredible. How did you do it? And he said, I'll send you a picture. And he sends me 2 pictures. They're 6 years apart. And instead of 6 months, he heard 6 years. Or instead of 6 years, I heard 6 months. Our brain will actually take what is being said and convert it so that we don't have to think about it. Okay, any questions on that so far? We have a fast thinking part of our brain. There's only one reason to slow our brain down into a slow thinking part, which means it'll expend energy, it drains us, and to some degree it's painful. And the reason for that is because we're using now our frontal lobe, our prefrontal cortex, and we're saying, well, does this make sense? It's changing the way we think about things. So how can we think about things? So we like to do things fast thinking, let's get on with it. I don't want to think about it so much. And lean very much is about slowing the brain down. Let's slow it down, let's think about it. So let's talk about software. While we're on the topic, so you know I'm not I'm not avoiding the topic, but this will be it. I want you guys doing your homework after this. Software falls into an area called Scrum. Has anybody heard of Scrum? Raise your hand. Okay, so if you've heard of Scrum, you know it comes from the Toyota way. You also know that it's about speed and agility, about delivering the minimum viable product. It's about talking about what's tangible and transferable from one week to the next, and having scrum meetings and determining the value, and having the scrum leader, master, remove all obstacles preventing somebody from delivering that value. Everybody agree with that explanation? Yes? Raise your hand if you agree.
Yep.
Good.
Yep.
So when we talk about software, I went to two companies, one in London, and they were building software, and they were doing something called knowledge management software. They were realizing that you cannot put software out there today that is not taking into account the change that's happening in the world around us. So they're building a software, and they bought one to build it as a knowledge database using everybody's knowledge. So even though they have what's called a standard, here's the standard way of doing things. And this company did diagnoses with it for older people and their medications and everything from their program to getting better to, hospice care, everything. And there was a prescribed way of doing it, but when you had a nurse who was an expert 25 years, she could change it and make that recommendation everywhere else in the country immediately because of her expertise at it. That's how fast things change in the world. So there's many ways to adopt this to software, lean to software, and how you do things to software. In one company, KBC Bank, they got over 10,000 employees. I went to Belgium, and what they were doing was they had frontline, first, second, and third line on service calls. Anytime the bank had a problem, whether it was an ATM machine or a software they were pushing out, they would have their frontline people, the first line people, take the call. If they couldn't handle it, the second line came and supported after we were done. It was usually lobbing it over the fence. And then the third line would support the second line after we were done. But before that, it was a lead time of 6 months to get anything done with the third line, because they were always working on new stuff and programming failure into what they were doing and giving the first line more work. It was a vicious cycle. So I hope I explained that, and whoever asked in the back, is that a little bit of an explanation of what is possible? Tom?
Yes, sir.
The gentleman in the back that asked? Okay, it's good.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't see. You know what, Tom? Please lower the camera so I don't have all window, because all I see is, a little more. There we go. Okay, that's much better. Now I could see. Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be wonderful. Okay, let me continue. So when we're talking about wasted transportation, you use a spaghetti diagram. Can you do it in software? Absolutely. You can look at how many machines the software goes through. You can time how fast the response comes back from the machine. I've got so many ideas and so many things that you can do. I'd like you to think about how you do it. Let's continue. Inappropriate processing. Here's one. I go into an engineering department. I'm an engineer, and they're designing cylinders. It's the same company. And I say, how many part numbers do you have? And they said 625 for this one product family alone. I said, okay. Have you thought about using variables? Because a cylinder, you make it the same way, except, the bore, the stroke, those change. The variables change, but the design doesn't change. And they said, no, we never thought of that. And we went from 625 parts to 25 parts. Think about how inappropriate processing applies to your environment. Unnecessary inventory. Another company had, cylinder. Let's use the same company. Cylinders. And they had a left and a right, or a shaft and a tube coming together. They had about 300 parts of each. And I said, so you should be able to get 300 cylinders together, like 300 shafts, 300 tubes. You should be able to get them together and make 300 cylinders. Am I right? And they said no, because it's the wrong shafts and the wrong tubes. Their push system, their MRP system, made the wrong parts, so they're sitting on all this inventory that can't get used. Even if they had it there, they wouldn't be able to process it in time, and it would be more inventory than they could possibly use. And it's not a strategic amount, it's excess. So again, where does excess inventory come in your business? I want to know about that. Unnecessary motion. All right, in the workspace, think about your workspace now. I know companies that have converted to stand-up desks because they get a lot more, well, first of all, they get exercise, which is excellent, but they also get a lot more use of their hands. They can move it around. They move their desk from one area to another, and the unnecessary motion of going back and forth, getting spreadsheets, all of this is gone in an office environment. How can you eliminate some unnecessary motion in your environment? Defects. All right, when we start measuring, we realize defects are everywhere. This is why Six Sigma has been one of the most powerful systems and will always be around. It's about looking at this in a systematic way, looking at the deviation, the standard deviation from the norm, and saying, if we want Six Sigma quality, you don't have to get there, but at least understanding the concept, it means we have to eliminate the, what do we call it, Tom? Opportunities for what?
For variation reduction.
Yeah, but there's an opportunity to have an error, a defect opportunity. If you're making pizza, you make pepperoni, mushroom, and green pepper, and that's 3 toppings. There's an opportunity 3 times to make that pizza an error. It's not one pizza.
That's
It's
right.
three-
Yeah, you can go
3
defect
opportunities.
opportunities. Yeah.
Okay, looking at that in that way is so important because now you've defined the problem. So how do we look at reducing paperwork errors, reducing quality errors, reducing the number of steps? How does that apply to your business? I want you to think about that and write that down. All right, so here they are, 7 forms of waste. And for those that don't know the acronym, I use Tim Wood. Tim Wood is just a person's name. At one point, I was going to hire a Tim Wood and just put him in a corner and say, look at that guy. He's waste. He's transportation, inventory, motion, waiting, overproduction, overprocessing, and defects. He's the waste guy. I wanted to put somebody named Tim Wood in a corner or have him walking around with his name and say, I'm Tim Wood, haha. Okay. I'm Mr. Waste. It might make sense because then people would find ways to, first of all, see the waste, and second, eliminate that waste. And after all these years of doing lean, guess what? I realize, as most other, I'm going to call them experts realize you can only see 50% of the waste. The other 50% is invisible to you as the worker in your area. So what does that mean? I mean, what would you do? Tom, please broach that discussion with the group. What do you do when waste is invisible to you? Ask the group.
What do you guys think? Have somebody come in from outside your group.
Absolutely. Fresh eyes. Who said that? Gold ribbon. Gold ribbon. Yay! Way to go. Okay, fresh eyes. You want them in there. Somebody from outside your group, and you say, listen, I can't see it. I know I can't. So let me tell you what we do and see if you can find ways to ask questions that help or come up with a suggestion. This is the most important thing. And in the process of doing this, guess what? You're going to find a 7th and an 8th waste. The 7th and 8th waste are, you could even have a 9th waste. Sorry, the 8th and 9th waste. 8th waste is loss of human potential. Now, I'm going to say this is the biggest waste because I see it. I look at a person who somebody says, George, this person's not that good at what they do. We should fire them. And I'm thinking, I don't think you grasp the situation here. We aren't challenging our people. And I said, give me a month with this person and you'll see what happens. And guess what? A month later, they're your best performers. Why is that? We don't tap into the potential that they have as a human being. Another waste is complexity. A waste of complexity. Interesting. Making things more complex than they need to be. That's a waste. The best Mr. Simplicity guy I know is Paul Akers. If anything's more complex than he can understand, he just says, it's too complicated. I don't understand it. That's it. Forget it. It won't work. Okay, if it's not simple for him, it won't work. Making it more complex than it needs to be won't work. Finally, one I heard recently and heard it again and again and again, finally it got through to me, is Norman Bodek. He says, George, there's this thing called waste of resistance. And I said, what is that? He says, when you got a goal, when you want to do something, and in your own brain, something says you can't do that. You can't do that. You're not good enough. You got to just take a deep breath, count to 10, and do it anyways. He says, I call that resistance. And think about it. Anytime you think about something that you want to do that's challenging, the first thought that comes into your mind is, you can't do that. You're telling yourself you can't do that. How many of you have found that? Raise your hand. I want to see if there's some feedback in the room. Good. Take a deep breath, 10 seconds, and do it anyways. Do it anyways. So that's another waste. So we're starting to define more wastes, and in the office, there's something called COMWIT. They're just wastes defined a little differently. And there are slides for that. So if Tom, you want some slides for the office, I'll give you slides for the office. But here we are. I want you to think about wastes in the office. You come up with some of them. Identify the value stream. Now, in a business, you may have many different ways to get your product or service to the customer. You might have different customer groups. So call those market niches. Call your value stream is the product and service for that market niche. Okay, think of it that way. So identifying the value stream, you would want to create what's called a value stream map. In the process of creating the map, there are icons you use. Tom, have you guys talked about value stream mapping?
Yes.
Okay, then I'm going to quickly go through this. There are 3 things on a value stream map everybody should know about. I'm going to tell you what they are because there's going to be a quiz at the end of this. I'm just kidding, but it helps. Number 1, the value stream map has a material transformation process. Material transformation. So in this case, there's stamping, there's press, there's weld, there's assembly, and there's shipping. That's called the material transformation process. Number 2, there's information flow. From the customer, you got daily ordering through electronic means. That's what that jagged arrow is. Then there's paper flow from order entry to production, production to planning. Then there's a weekly schedule that goes out to each department. And then you have daily expediting from the supervisors. They go out and see. That's what the arrow, the glasses are. They go and see. They look at the inventory levels and they expedite accordingly. That's information flow. And finally, you got your material movement. So when you get deliveries from a steel supplier, weekly deliveries, they go into coils. They go through stamping, then you have your pieces and they're pushed through the process. So your material movement process is in here. It's pushed. You could have pull systems, but it's how the material moves or the information would move. And you would be able to create a map to describe your current state and a map to describe your future state. So you would go to something like this for a future state. Tom, here's a question. I want you to facilitate this discussion, and I want you to tell me, because I can't hear everybody, what the answers are as they say them. Why would you want to create a future state with your team? Okay, Tom, go ahead.
So you have a direction to go.
Tom, am I asking you or am I asking the group?
He's facilitating.
I'm facilitating. They're saying it, and I'm repeating.
That was so quick. I thought you were just giving me all the right answers, Tom. You're not helping the group at all, Tom.
No,
Very good.
they're
Okay,
quick.
keep on
This is a
going.
good group.
What else? Direction to go. What else?
Hold on. They're talking.
Okay.
Team has one direction to go.
So,
Very good.
Do it as a team. You get better result than one individual trying to come up with it. Or if you do it as a team, then those individuals have buy-in and be motivated to actually make it happen.
Did you get that?
No. I can't hear anything, Tom. But go ahead,
You
please.
can't hear anything.
No. That's okay. Just repeat it
That was a
briefly.
good one.
You just, Tom, here's what you do. You just say, good answer. Good
That's
answer.
what I-
Keep on going to the next person, okay? I don't care what they say.
That was good.
Yeah, that was very good.
They can help each other realize their inputs and outputs and what they're not getting and how to optimize the process.
Yeah, very good. I heard that. Very good. Keep on going.
Isn't it because you want to improve? Is it
That's a question. What was the question, Tom?
Isn't it that you want to improve?
Um,
So you have a direction to go?
okay, I'm going to ask a question of the questioner. Are you trying to improve a process, or are you trying to improve the people? Which one? Or are you trying to improve the communication? Which one?
You're trying
Both.
to improve all of it. I mean, you want to start with the process so everyone's aware within their process.
I'm in agreement with this. Whoever you are, you're a genius. Yes, I'm in agreement with this. You want to improve the process. What you're going to do is improve the people while they're trying to improve the process. You're going to coach them. Absolutely. Very good. Keep on going. Come on.
Work towards, and then you can track performance compared to your future state to your actual.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep on going. Why else?
At a very basic level, it provides a visual, which makes it easier for people to understand concepts. Usually, a visual is a very good tool for them to wrap their head around the
who's
improvement
speaking?
goals or objectives.
Oh, Douglas.
This is
Doug,
Doug.
that's excellent. I love what you're saying. Doug, what's your title again?
I'm the operations manager.
Doug, give me a number.
And,
What do you think people learn visually compared to verbally? If you say something versus you show something, what do you think the percentage is?
I will Pareto this time. I'll go 80-20.
You know what, Doug? I was going to tell you, if you don't Pareto it, you got a problem right there. You're in the wrong class. Absolutely Pareto. It is about 80-20. Absolutely. Visually, people connect better. Very good. Doug, you were going to say more, please.
No, just my experience in creating value streams, current state and future state. Not only do you uncover waste and create when you're creating the stream, you're discovering processes, the people that may be involved directly with that work cell or that process didn't even realize until you try to capture a visual and put it on paper.
Doug, how many
Now
maps have you
everyone
done?
can-
How many maps? Doug, how many maps have you done?
Oh, probably. Well, we did 4 VSMs last year, but the year prior to that, we were much more intensive. Probably one a month.
Doug, I've done over 100 maps. Not to say I'm better than you, but in every single case, there were people arguing with each other over what happened. Every single case, which led me to believe that this one does not fall into the Pareto category. Everybody learns something about what's going on if you actually value stream map, which means you got to go from beginning to the end, from order entry to the customer and collecting the money. Everybody's learning something, guaranteed 100% of the time. Doug, excellent. Just excellent. Keep on going, please. I like this.
If you're going to do any future improvement, you already got your current state map. Right?
Yes, of course. And you could see
Okay.
your progress. I think that's what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Why is that important? Why is that important?
If you're not measuring yourself, how do you know you're succeeding?
Yes, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Why else? Give me another one.
Keeps you motivated?
Yes. Now we're on to something. Who said that? What's the person's name?
Man, she's knocking it out of the park.
Who's that?
Ginger.
Ginger's knocking it out of the park.
Ginger, you are a genius. Genius, genius, genius. Now, I'm going to say this, Ginger. You should be the only one writing this down. It's too complicated for everybody else, for sure, Ginger. There is a behavioral model. I'm going to tell you this, and I think you're going to be so freaking happy that I told you this. Here we go. Behavioral model out there, and it's BJ Fogg. How many of you heard of BJ Fogg? Raise your hand.
No
Good.
hands.
How many?
0.
0. Good. He's going to be at my event 3 years from now, my $1 million event for one day. I'm going to get 1,000 people to pay $1,000 for one day. Tom is going to speak at it. He doesn't know yet, but he's going to speak at it. Okay, here it is. I'm going to give you the model. This is BJ Fogg's behavioral model. It's the behavior you want is equal to MAT. And what MAT is, it stands for 3 words. The T stands for trigger. Okay, I'm going to write it in here, and I'm going to explain it. Trigger. I'm going to explain it real easy. Before you can have a behavior, you must have a trigger. So, for example, if right now, I want everybody to think about their phone ringing right now. Think of a reason why you would answer your phone in our meeting. And I want you to think of a reason why you would not answer your phone in this meeting. Okay, why you would and why you wouldn't. Now, give me one answer. Tom, select one from the group. Why would you answer your phone in this meeting?
There you go.
Depends on who's, yeah.
Yeah, it depends on who's calling.
Yeah, so come on. So depending on who's calling, give me an example of one person that would call that you would actually pick it up in this meeting. Now, assuming
Okay.
you forgot to turn off your phone.
Kids' school.
Right. So your motivation to answer the kids' school would be high for you to answer the phone, correct? So far?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to put a little chart here like this. And if it's high, and your ability to answer, what's the ability? Ability means you can pick up your phone and you can press click. Can everybody do that? I think so. I think so. The ability, if it's low and it's easy to do, then you go do it. And if your motivation is high and your ability is low, then what you've got here is somebody with a happy face. I'm going to put a happy face here. And let me see if this works. I've never done this one on thing, but I'm telling you, I think this is going to make so much sense. Oops, that's the wrong little character. I hope I'm doing a good job. Does that look like a happy face?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yep.
Okay, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Now, think of a reason why you wouldn't answer your phone. Give me an example, please.
Number you don't recognize.
Number you don't recognize.
Yeah, and?
I don't want you to call me out later.
Right, number you don't recognize, and it's rude. I would just, I'd find out your name, and I would tell Tom never to talk to you again. We're not talking to that person, Tom. So if your motivation is low, what's the motivation to answer if it's a stranger? It's low. And your ability is high or low. See, now we have an unhappy face over here. Can everybody see that there's still unhappy faces over here?
Yeah, disgusting.
I do
Yeah.
that on purpose. Your motivation is low to 0. It doesn't matter what I pay you, you may not answer that phone because it's just rude. Or it goes against your value system. I mean, that also works. Now, what happens is for behavior change to happen, we need to find ways for people to go from this scenario from here to here, or here to here, or here to here, or here to here, or here to here. That's what we want for behavior change to happen. Where was I going with all of this? Who's the genius in the room, Ginger? Who is it? I want you to raise your hand and say, I am. Good. Now, what were we talking about just before I went into this behavior thing?
Motivation.
Motivation. If you have an individual who's a good leader and their ability is high, let's say their ability is over here, you got to give them a project that suits their ability, so it's challenging. And in order for them to see the progress they've made, you got to give them a current state map so that they can say, yeah, you know what, I see the progress. I'm getting it. I'm actually motivated. I see where I've come from and where I'm going to. It may have taken 3 months, but I love it. Okay. For somebody who has a high ability, that's what you want. You want the increments to increase. What if their ability is low, Ginger? What if their ability is low, but we want to work them into a leadership role? What do we have to do?
Give them something that's closer to their ability.
You got it. We got to be down here. We have to take them and we got to say, guess what? Your ability is low now, so I'm going to give you a small activity. It's called a value stream loop. I want you to create a supermarket. I want you to create a pull system, a Kanban. I want you to have success with this, and it should be done in a week. So you give them something easy. Their ability is low, but they achieve what's called success. And then you work them more and more and more as their motivation increases and increases and increases. And what you end up getting is a very motivated individual. And sooner or later, their ability grows. Does everybody follow me? This is the path to success. This is what BJ Fogg teaches. Do small things. And do you know, I'm going to tell you my success, and I want you to tell me one of your successes. I looked at this guy's video, and he says, after I went to the washroom, I pushed the flush, and I did 2 push-ups. And I said, okay, that's pretty easy, man. I can do that. But I got to get out of the washroom to do the push-ups. But that's the trigger. The trigger, he says, has to be there. There's got to be a trigger. I push to flush, and I do 2 push-ups. Well, I did about 8, and that's all I could do. Today, I could do about 24 push-ups. And I've also lost 60 pounds in the last 6 months. I walk every day. For Christmas, I gave myself 40,000 steps. That's 20 miles I walked in one day. Now, do you think my ability is low or high when it comes to walking? Okay.
Higher?
Yeah, I think it's higher. I can do 20 miles walking in one day. I got a blister and I was, not in pain, but I am now. But not at that time. Okay, so my ability was higher. Was I motivated? Absolutely. I'm watching my numbers. Think about how you motivate your people without a visual, without a map, without measuring something. It's not going to work. You have to find a way for the people with higher ability to motivate them. Any questions on this model? Any questions at all? Did I explain it okay?
Yep, no questions.
I do have a question.
One question.
So how do you address somebody who has a high capability but low motivation? Like they just don't want to.
Okay, well,
They're smart.
that's a good one.
They're able, but they just don't see it. They don't want it. They're resistant.
Okay, let me ask you. Who's asking the question?
Sherry.
Okay, Sherry. That's a very good question. Let's talk about specifics. Sherry, this is what it's all about. Give me an example where this person would have a high ability but very low motivation. Give me the example. Go ahead and talk through it. Just a general example so we can walk through it.
Somebody who just does things the way they've always done them. They're not motivated to change, but they're very smart and very capable of implementing change or changing a process that could improve things. They're just not motivated to. They don't want to. They don't see the benefit, or they just want to continue to do things the way they've always done them because there's no reason. They just are not. They just don't want to change.
I got you. Now, again, you've covered all of, you know the difference between a problem and a symptom?
Yes.
Good. These are all symptoms. Every one of these is a symptom of the real problem. And the thing with lean and deep thinking is you're going to have to get into what the problem really is. Now, I'm going to tell you this story, and it makes so much sense right now. Way back in 1950, when Taiichi Ono was creating the Toyota production system, he came across this particular problem. Everybody's smart. They know what to do, but they're not motivated. Now, here's what happened. They were trying to go from people working in silos to cross-training across their plant because they needed the flexibility as a company. Their whole model was based on flexibility, but people didn't want to go from working a lathe to doing something else to doing something else. Their ability is high, their motivation is very low, and they didn't want to do it. What do you think the missing ingredient was? Now I'm going to take callers even. I'll even call people. But I won't go on until you guys tell me what the missing ingredient was. Let's go. Throw out answers.
Incentive?
No.
Responsibility.
Oh, sorry. Good answer. But no. What was the missing ingredient? Not the one I'm looking for. It's not that one. But that's a good answer.
Responsibility.
No.
Explaining the benefits for them.
Very, very
To a certain
close.
extent.
But that's not what I'm looking for. Not with this particular example with Taiichi Ono. Keep on going.
Accountability. I mean, getting them involved.
Oh boy. Yeah, but no. Yes, that is what we want. That is called the symptom. What we want is getting them involved. We all agree, right? We want them to get involved. Great. But how did we do it? How did Taiichi Ono do it when he wanted the organization to become flexible and capable? How did he do it? How did you get them involved? Come on, keep on going.
You're the dude.
Yeah.
Now listen, if I have you guys falling over because of all the energy you're expending in your brains, this is not good. But I want you to expend some energy here. Think about it. It's very important. Give them some Snickers. I don't know. But how do you get them involved? Think about it. You're not motivated.
Show
You're
them how
not going to do
valuable
something.
they are.
Why would you do it? Why would you do it?
Show them how valuable they are.
Okay. Now, take the perspective and change it. You're not the boss now. You're not the boss. You're the employee that is not motivated. I want everybody thinking from the employee's perspective who's just not motivated. I don't like
them
the
to-
way things are. I'm
Get them to-
smart. Tom, is this coming from the group or you?
Yes. No. It's the group.
Good. I don't want
Get
you
them
arguing
to,
with me.
think it's their idea. Is that what it was? Yeah. Get them to think it's their
Okay.
idea, or
Change
use
the
their
perspective.
idea.
Why would they do it? That's not it. That's not what I'm looking for. That's not what happened with Taiichi Ono. That's not how this fire started called the Toyota production. That's not how it started. So think that now you're the employee. Change perspectives, please. I'm not happy.
Threaten their job.
Yeah.
No, listen. You're not the boss. You're the employee. You're not happy. You have a boss. Like, I don't want to do anything. I just come collect my paycheck. Think about the reasons that you would want to do something or you want to get involved. Think about what would make you do it.
Make it exciting.
Now show how it's going to improve.
So
them versus
again,
their
that perspective is you talking as a boss. Am I correct?
belief in it.
Get them to believe in it.
Who's them? Now let's talk we. We are the employees. We are unhappy. We
Get-
all are capable.
Get everybody to believe in it.
How, Tom? How?
Give us shared ownership.
Yeah, okay. I like that, Doug. Doug, that's so important. What is shared ownership? How do we get that? How do we get that now? Come on, we are on the right track.
empower us to look at the business and make the changes that we feel need to be made.
Good. Now, how do we do that? How would Doug? I'm not going to ask you. You're at a different level, I think, right, Doug? It might be shares for you. It might be options. I have no idea. But I'm the lowly worker on the shop floor. I go in and Tom's just a ball breaker. I like Tom a little bit, but not much. I don't like him that much. And he's telling me, here's the direction, George. I want you to go in this direction. And I don't want to do it. I'm skilled. I can go anywhere and sharpen the saw. I don't need this job. How do we do it?
I think what would motivate me is looking at my boss find value in me, in the work that I currently do, that I can bring to the table. So including me in the direction we want to go and what changes we're making because my opinions are valued.
Tom, next time I want everybody right by the speaker. So tell me what was said.
Okay. Ginger, you want to come up?
No, I'm just kidding. Just tell me what was said.
I feel kind of like that. Did you guys ever watch that show with the ghost, Ghost Whisperer or something like that? And you try to, you try to interpret what other people said. So somebody will talk for like 3 minutes, and then at the end, yeah, Jennifer Love Hewitt, and then at the end she goes, "They said hi."
Okay, Ginger, you call me later. Okay, we'll have a chat about that. Okay, come on. Now should I tell you, or do you guys want to still take a stab at it?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to tell you what Taiichi Ono did, and I'm going to tell you what you can do. Taiichi Ono got out at the Gemba and became friends with his workers. He went out to the place where the action was. He got dirty. He made friends, and they would die for him. He cared about them. The leader had to care. If I'm going to do something I don't want to do, it's not going to be because of the thing. It's going to be because of the individual I care about. Tom, I would do it for you, Tom. That's why I'm here today. Did I mention that? You're not paying
And
me.
I would do it for you, buddy.
Yeah. Now, look, that's the secret. And what happened in the 90s when Toyota came over to North America, they realized that the Japanese way wasn't working. And you know why? The Japanese had a way of saying, do this, I'll come back in 2 weeks, and I'll see if it's done. Now, where are we with this? You know what? Kiss my butt. Forget it. I'm not doing nothing I don't need to do. Okay, so what happened was people got demotivated. They slid the other way. Ginger, if there is another way, it's this way, right? And I'm going to use red. I'll use red. Here we go. Ginger, they went closer this way. They moved this way. Do you see what I mean? They just less motivated. They went less motivated. They didn't want to do it. They might have been more capable. Who knows? But they're less motivated. Now, what happened is finally the Japanese came in and said, this is not working. What do we do? And they realized 3-2-1 was the answer. 3-1 compliments to criticism. I don't even know how to spell criticism, guys. How do you spell criticism? It's not that. Whatever. I'm an engineer. That's my excuse. Okay, here we go. Compliments, 3-1. Now, what does that do? What does that do? Ginger, tell me what happens.
It shows that you're finding value.
Say it again, Tom. I never heard.
Positive reinforcement. Finding value. Showing
Yeah,
that-
right on. Little tiny changes in that individual. What happens is they think you care. Now, listen, you better care. Authentism is, there's no excuse not to be authentic when you do this. No excuse. You better care. As a leader, you have to care. Now that, I don't even want to discuss. But as you do this, you're finding ways to appreciate the individual that you're working with. Okay, questions at this point? Any questions? Very important. Tom, are there any questions, or am I like?
No, you're answering everything. And to expand on that just a little bit, George, in the military, it's people think that because somebody is enlisted and you're an officer, that they follow you into battle because they have to. But yeah, it's loyalty. Once you get in combat, everybody has loaded weapons. So they better want to and believe in your that you have their best interests at heart.
I
It is.
I couldn't agree with you more. I'd go into battle with Tom any day, and I'm Canadian. We don't do anything as far as battle goes. We're very neutral. I'm very Canadian, but I would fight with Tom anywhere on any beach. Okay. Let's continue. Should we continue, or any more questions on this?
Questions? Nope.
I think we're good.
Okay, now this is the key. This is what started it all off, is personality, caring about your people. I'll give you one last example. Norman Bodek said this. You guys may not know Norman. They call him the godfather of lean for a reason. He brought lean to North America. There was an experiment done, I can't remember the company, where there were consultants there, and they were just taking the place of the manager for a while. So 6 months to a year, they were working with the individuals, and they did an experiment. A new manager came in, and what the consultant did was they said, okay, out of this group of 30 people, here's your top 5 people, and here's your bottom 5 people. I'm going to leave you with that, and what I'd like you to do is let me know what you think after 6 months. Okay, that's all the assignment was. Work with them for 6 months. I think your top 5 are this, your bottom 5 are this. Work with them for 6 months, and then tell me what you think. And so the manager did. And after 6 months, the consultant comes back and says, what do you think? He says, you're exactly right. These are my top 5 performers, and these are my bottom 5 performers. You are 100% correct. And wow, these top performers are excellent. And the experiment was that if the consultant reversed the roles and he picked your bottom 5 performers and told the new manager that they were the top 5, would they be able to take them there? And the answer is yes, and they did it. Is that amazing? Do you guys do you have a chill when you hear that? Because I got a chill saying it. Is that amazing or not? Raise your hand if you think that's amazing.
Yeah, say that again. The volume was down a little bit.
Tom, you're killing me. Okay. All of that? The whole thing?
No, just the last part.
Here's the experiment. You're changing roles. You're a manager. You went into a new department, and the old manager tells you, these are your top 5 performers out of the group of 30, and here's your bottom 5 performers out of the group of 30. And he says, I'm going to come back in 6 months. I want to see how you do with your top performers and with your bottom performers. Tell me if they're still in the same position. And what happened after 6 months is the old manager comes back, and the new manager says, you know what? You're right. The top 5 performers are the top 5 performers. And the bottom 5 are the bottom 5. What that person didn't know, the manager didn't know, that the old manager reversed the numbers. He actually gave them the bottom 5, and he said they were the top 5. And over 6 months, the new manager converted them to the best, from the worst to the best. And it was all psychological. Now, does that not tell you something? It was an experiment. It was done. It tells you something. How people perform is in the eyes of the leader. And how we treat them makes all the difference between performance and non-performance. Any questions on that? Okay, I get so excited telling that story, Tom. I don't know. Maybe it's just
And,
me.
you know, and
I'm
by
going to
the
stop
same
being
token,
philosophical.
By the same token, you can take high-level performers, and if you treat them like, if you don't listen to them, don't value what they're saying, you can move them to the lower performers.
Absolutely. Doesn't take long. Okay, this is not a course on leadership, but let me tell you, it has everything to do with what we're doing here.
Wait, so I had a question.
Yes.
How did the actual 5 top performers ended up being the actual 5 low performers?
I think they just got better as a group. I think what happened, I don't know if you know this scenario, but I've seen it many times. I'll share a whiteboard. And I've done it. I've personally done this, and I've made the mistake. And I think you guys should know so you don't make the mistake. Okay, I'm going to say that there's a 10-80-10 rule. And if you don't know the 10-80-10 rule, my numbers are correct. My categories may not be right. 10% of your people are superstars. Do we agree?
Yep.
All right. 80% are waiting, and they're in the middle. They're waiting to see, and they're going to learn from what's working and not working. They're playing it safe. Everybody agree with that?
Yep.
Okay, and then there's your 10% bottom dwellers. And I don't know what the term is. I apologize if that is offensive.
I call them slugs, but go ahead.
That's why Tom and I get along. Who cares what they're called? They're slugs. Okay, 10% are bottom dwellers. When I was doing consulting daily, I don't do it daily now. When I was doing consulting daily, what my philosophy is, George, you're going to come in, you want to convert all these people. You want to convert the 80% to all high performers. That's what I want to do. And how am I going to do that? My philosophy, my thought was, if I go down here and if I pay attention to these people, and if I can convert these people, then what'll happen is I've done it. I'm paying more attention to these people. They're going from your worst performers to your best performers, which is the case, because I'm giving them the attention they deserve. But what actually happens is this. These 80% move down here. And why is that? Anybody have an answer for that? They start moving down here. My 10% actually, some I might lose because sooner or later I realize they just don't want to be there and they're ripping the company off. But maybe they move up here because I'm actually giving them attention. But why does the 80% move down? Why is that?
They're not, because you're not paying attention to them. What's that?
No, it's they were never being paid attention to anyways. They were never being paid attention to. Really, I mean, if everybody got the right amount of attention, I'll give you the ratio, but they weren't being paid attention to. Come on.
The 80% sees that the behaviors of the bottom 10% are drawing attention.
Yeah. You know what? Who said that?
Chad,
you and Ginger, we're gonna have a meeting together. Okay?
you left Sammy out. Sammy was a genius too.
Sam, you too. Okay, we're gonna get everybody involved sooner or later. Now, what happens is the bottom dwellers, they complain, and all of these people who are waiting, they see that a complain means good. That's good, and that's how I get my attention. I'm going to complain, and the consultant who has the CEO's ear, he's going to listen to me, and I'm going to get a promotion, or I'm going to get a raise, or I'm going to get more responsibility. And really, if you complain, that's a good way to go. That's what happened. That's the reality of the situation. Who asked? Was it Elaine or Doug? Doug, does that make sense? Elaine?
Yeah, to a certain extent. I'd like to see it actually happen, but it makes sense.
Yeah, I've seen it happen because that's what I used to do for a living. And I've seen it happen. Now, the problem is it doesn't happen with a whole lot of effort, and who's got that effort? And here's the ratio. if you want to do this right, the ratio of coaching others is 1 coach to 5 people who are self-developing coaches. Self-developing coaches. In other words, you want these 5 people who get a coach to be coaching others. Yeah, you want them coaching others, but you want them developing at the same time. But the ratio is 1 to 5. If you are trying to implement lean today, in my current thinking, and you have 1 to 5 ratio, this is good. This is how fast the program can go. This is how fast it can go. If you don't have a 1 to 5 ratio, it's going to dwindle. It'll peter out sooner or later. You got to develop coaches faster than you develop learners to some degree, or faster than you move with your program. You got to develop coaches, and you have to have more coaches than you have learners not more, 1 to 5 ratio. So more than you have today, I'm sure that you probably got 1 to 20, 1 to 25, 1 to 30, 1 to 50, I don't know.
So if you're going to spend time coaching anyone, who would you start with?
There's the lean leadership development model, which is, by the way, why I started this organization, and it's why Tom and I are partners. It starts with Jeff Leiker's model with Gary Convis, who came out of Toyota, and they put together this model that says, number 1, commit to self-development. You want to start with people who want to help themselves. That's who you start with. And number 2, after they're committed to self-development, you got motivated people. Then you get them to coach and develop others. Then you get them to coach others at the Gemba. In other words, support daily improvement, daily Kaizen. And finally, they do with this thing called Hoshin Kanri, or create vision, or create their future target condition, future state map, whatever you want to call it, and align the goals of the organization or their part of the organization, what they're responsible for, towards that vision. Those are the 4 steps. Start with people at the right level in the organization, hopefully the leadership team, the executives. Make sure they're all committed to self-development. Give them a great coach, and watch them flourish, and watch them get others to flourish. It's amazing. Did that answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, Tom, should we continue? Or any more questions on this?
Nope.
All right, let's rock and roll. Now, here we go. We have this future state map. We know why we're using it. We're trying to get people motivated. We're going to motivate them to do it. They're going to try to improve things. They're going to fail. They need a coach. They will get there. They're going to develop themselves as their process changes. And finally, pull from the customer. All right, what does that mean? If you can't flow the product, you want to pull from your customer. You get your customer to decide, here's what I want, and here's how I'm going to pull it from you. You provide the item, the information, whatever I need. And wherever you can't flow, you got to pull. And we can talk about the strategy there. All right, so you're going from a current state to a future state, and then back again. Your future state, when you get there, becomes a current state, and then you go to another future state. And then guess what? After you get to that future state, you call that the current state, and then you create another future state. And when does it end, Tom? When does it end?
You guys tell me, when does it end? Never.
Never ends. That's called continuous improvement. Okay, never ends, should never end. And in order to explain this to somebody novice, and you guys could have these slides, Tom will give them to you. I use this thing called supermarket. Somebody goes out for bread. They get bread. They bring it home. Okay, they got options of supermarkets. Supermarket goes to the bakery. They get bread, flour, and they make bread at the supermarket. Great. And finally, the bakery goes to the flour mill, and they pull flour, they grain, and they make flour so they can get it to the supermarket. That's kind of like a pull system. And finally, the flour mill pulls it from the farm. The farm, kind of gets the rations, pushes it there. That's kind of it. That's a pull system. It's not as good as process flow, but you got to use a pull until you can get to flow. And then finally, head toward perfection. What does that mean? That means if the people who commit to self-development say, I am going to get better and better every day in every way, they're committed. And they're going to then improve the processes that they're working with. They're going to head towards perfection. They're not going to be scared of this. They're going to consider this a blessing. A challenge is a blessing, and it's something that we can look forward to and get motivated about. And we have that big smiley face. We have that behavior. Okay. Tom, I took way too long, and I apologize.
That's all right. It's all good, man.
Okay, where are we? Did we spend an hour on this?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I'd like to, maybe ask the group. We have options. We can either go overtime and continue, or you could take a 5-10 minute break, and I could take a break, and then we could continue, or you guys can say goodbye to me, ask questions, and then I leave, and you guys continue with Tom. And Tom, it's up to you, and I'm here. I can do another hour, but I don't want to. Hey, I'm doing it because I love it, not for anything else. So, what do you guys want to do?
Let's take 10 minutes and then we'll come back and you continue.
Is that okay with everybody? Just ask them.
Yep.
Okay.
That works.
We'll continue. Great. 10-minute break. I got my coffee on. Tom, I'll see you in 5 minutes.
All right, go ahead.
30 minutes just to get from one to the other, and you have to go by car again. Otherwise, you still get there. It's strange.
Yeah, and cab work hard. You're
Yeah.
still in the traffic.
Yeah.
Sometimes in New York, I just walk because it's quicker.
Yeah.
George.
Yes.
All right, man. We are back and ready to go.
Okay. Well, let's rock and roll then.
We were just talking a little bit about Canada and hockey and how Chicago rules. I'm
You know
sorry,
what?
That wasn't the rest of them. That was
Chicago's
me.
one of the original 6. I love them. Phil Esposito, the whole gang, love them.
Hey, they're always good. Well, until they get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And the crowd, there's never a dull moment, man. I love going to hockey. It's fun.
One is one, the other is two.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. We can go, George.
Okay, if we
You
can
there?
go, then let's go.
Yep.
5 principles of lean thinking. What are they? Tom, take answers.
5 principles of lean. Tell me number 1. Define value from the customer's perspective.
Yes.
Number 2.
Measure.
Map the value stream.
Yes. That's number 2.
Make it flow. Number 4.
Pull from the customer.
Number 3 is make it flow. And,
Yep,
and so,
number
Tom,
4.
this is an interesting one. You would think pull would come first, but it doesn't. Number 3 is make it flow.
Yep,
Sorry,
that's
I
what it
gave
said.
away number 4.
They said make it flow, and then they said pull from the customer,
Right on.
and the last one, strive for perfection.
All right. If you had to pick one, which one would be the most important to you?
Number 1, value of the customer.
How many for number 1? Number 2?
Let's see, number 2,
Number 3?
okay.
Raise your hand for all of them.
No.
number 3,
Number 4?
okay, and number 4. Is that Chad? Did you say 4? Okay, 4, 3.
Number 5?
Number 5. Okay. None
Okay.
on 5.
How many number 5s do I got?
None.
Okay, good. Okay, these are principles, which means they all belong together. It's almost like saying Toyota has core values, these are the value system, and which one would you like the most? They all belong together. Now, when you think in a certain way continually over and over and over and over again, they call that a mental model. Everybody heard the term? Has everybody heard that term, mental model? Nobody? Yes? Okay.
Yep.
So if you got this mental model in
Not
place
everybody.
and you think about your organization now as an organization that does things in a fractal way. Now there's a new term. How many of you know what the term fractal means? Raise your hand.
Nope.
Okay. So fractal, let me try to explain it. Fractal means that no matter where you look in the organization, we're talking about an organization in this case, no matter where you look in the organization, whether it's a supervisor to the team leaders, manager to the supervisor, a senior manager to the managers, a director to the senior managers, a VP to the senior leaders, it all looks the same from a process perspective of what they do. Okay, now that's interesting. It all looks the same. So if it looks the same, it's called fractal. That means at a leadership level, you should be asking the question, what's the direction? Where are we going as a company? What's the next challenge for my group, for my company, for my division, for my department? What's the next challenge? Where are we now? What's the next target condition? What are all the obstacles? And which one are we going after? If everybody thinks in the same way, everywhere in the organization, it's easy to determine whether we're thinking correctly. If it's a fractal company, fractal way of thinking. What are the benefits to having a problem-solving process that is consistent throughout an organization? What are the benefits? Anybody?
Everyone's striving to the same goal.
Say again?
What do y'all have?
Everyone's striving to the same goal.
Right here.
Okay.
Give me a second. Yes, sir.
Hang on, George.
Yeah. Yes, sir. What do you need? George,
Yes.
here I am.
Yeah, there.
I just see your belly.
That's what everybody can see. Okay, what was that? I'm sorry, I was out.
Oh, okay, you're back. Okay, we were just asking the question if it's a fractal organization. Fractal means that no matter where you look in the organization, things are happening exactly the same way. And I was using an example like Six Sigma or Lean Principles or the Toyota Kata method. If it's fractal, that means everybody thinks of problem solving in this case in the same way everywhere in the organization. What are the benefits of that?
That makes sense.
We're working on things that have value.
Okay. It aligns your goals with your strategic business plan
Yes. What else?
throughout the whole organization.
Absolutely. There's so many good answers. It also defines what success looks like, and success doesn't change. When you move up in the organization, you're resolving more challenging problems in exactly the same way as you would have done as a manager or as a team leader, as a supervisor. It's just the problem gets bigger, and the breadth, the width gets larger. You got to organize yourself a little differently, but at least success looks the same. All right, here's from the book, chapter 1. What is lean thinking? This is from Jeff Leiker. But before we go to this, let's go through our questions of your area in specific. Now, question 1. How do you apply, or what are examples of defining value from the customer's perspective differently today? So somebody would have to tell me, I'm in IT, and I can see us doing this, and that would be defining value from the customer's perspective. So give me an example, anybody, and then let's go through all the 5 principles several times until we're good, and then I'll go to this.
So are you asking for us to provide examples of what our customers value or what our customers value?
Well, that's interesting. Are you tied to your customers' customers to be successful, or are you tied to your customers to be successful?
Yes.
Which one?
Really both. But
Okay,
our focus,
then I'm talking both. Give me an example of each.
So as a consumer, I want to be able to interact with the system that makes it easy for me to pay my bill.
Nice. Excellent. That's a great example. So defining value, but how do you define that value? This is what you want, so therefore that's value? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Excellent. Love it. Keep on going. Any other examples?
Our customers can measure cost savings at their call centers. We're successful at answering and resolving them.
And if you're a customer, that's what you'd want?
Yeah, so if our customers want their call centers to be less busy.
Excellent. Less stress, less people resources to do the same thing. I agree. Wonderful.
Automation.
Okay, the customers want automation, or are they using automation to get a certain thing done? What are they using automation for?
Oh.
Say
Their
again?
customers have less reliance on them, and our clients have less reliance on us, so that both can basically
Well,
sell.
Okay, so now I'll tell you what, we're in an interesting category called maybe. What do their customers want that your customers are giving them that mean exactly what you said? What do their customers want exactly?
A quality product, get things done fast.
Yeah, you're right. Quality. Quality means no defects at a lesser cost.
Yep. And
Okay.
speed.
Okay, that's what we got to focus on. Not necessarily where we are in the pipeline and how value added, non value added we are, because sooner or later somebody else is going to eat our breakfast if we're not focused on the customer in this case. And if we could find ways to eliminate what we do in a good way, in other words, we can find ways to be successful, then we should. Okay, keep on going. What else? Define value from the customer's perspective. Other examples.
Almost that it's predictive. So if an airline client, if their flight is canceled, they get a proactive call or text message from the airline saying, we know you're going to Omaha, we've rebooked you on this flight. So they don't have to go stand in line or...
I love it. And if you can reduce the stress there, I will thank you personally. You can join the group. Okay, keep on going, please.
Well, my client looked at customer satisfaction. So they do post-call surveys and that they measure.
Okay.
Heard most of that, but please repeat what you got out of it, Tom.
Yeah. Her clients do the post-call surveys. So it's
Feedback score.
the score, the satisfactory score, right?
Okay, sorry. Tom, where's the defined value from the customer's perspective? Explain it again. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention, and I'm sorry for that.
Well, are their customers satisfied with the service that West provided them?
Are their customers satisfied with the service that Wes provided them?
Okay, interesting. If they're satisfied, what does that mean? That's my question.
It's a quality service.
Good quality service, what does that mean exactly?
Or they were able to get their question answered with the first person that they talked to.
Right on. Now that you can measure. It's It's tangible. You can measure it. It's quantifiable. It's specific, right? I love it. Keep on going. What else?
Yeah, you guys. That's true. Good. Other stuff, other customers. You all have different. Hey, how about on finance? It's getting a close in a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, absolutely. So finance has internal customers. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's great. What else?
Other stuff.
If you want, if you know, go again. If you got more examples of defined value from your customer's perspective.
We have a,
Reliability.
yeah. We're trying to figure our clients, look at schedule it here as well. I mean, are we meeting the dates that we promised we turn over to QA on the dates that we're supposed to?
Yeah, it's interesting. Are you meeting the expectations you've set? Like, do you have a service level agreement, right? I think that's what you guys call it.
Yeah, that's one of the metrics on our scorecard.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you meeting that? And in many cases, you might say our mission is to delight the customer, not just meet it, delight them. Okay, now what does that mean? But yes, absolutely. That's defined value from the customer's perspective. Keep on going.
That if we invoice them and it's long enough, long rate, wrap ratings, and things like that, then that's a perception issue.
Mm-hmm.
Quality.
Did you catch that, George?
No,
Quality of
I
delivery.
didn't, but please give me the Reader's Digest.
Quality of delivery on the invoicing to make sure the invoicing to the customer is good, is correct.
Okay, so that means 100% quality on invoicing.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Accurate invoicing. Good. Timely invoicing. Great. What else?
100% platform availability.
Great. Platform, 100% platform availability. What else? Tom?
Yeah, they're talking amongst
Good,
each
good,
other.
good. I'm glad. This is where questions come in. And I can tell you something right now. When I'm talking to a group of engineers who do design, they say, what the hell are you talking about? Defined value. Our customer doesn't know what they want. Our customer, if, it's like Henry Ford would say, if you asked your customer what they wanted, they'd want a faster horse and buggy, right? Okay, sometimes they don't know what they want. But we even help, design groups. And I say, here's another way to test for value. Would your customer pay $1 more for what you're providing? Wow. Are you over-designing, under-designing? If you're over-designing, would they pay $1 more for that feature? And if the answer is no, don't do it. You're over-producing. You want to give them the minimum viable product so they can test it. That's also in Lean Startup, the methodology. Okay, Tom, keep on going, please. And any questions on this one principle before we go to the next?
Other questions? Others? Value.
Our customers value our ability to think of ways to make their solution better than they are.
Wow. I really like that. How?
Oh, it's similar to that, but I was just thinking one of the newer things that some folks have been trained on is this customer journey mapping. So if our clients don't necessarily understand everything that a customer goes through, we sit down and help them plot that, either focus groups, meeting with internal teams, that sort of thing, to help them figure out what's the first thing that they should attack, or the first solution that we can help provide them to make that customer experience better.
Yeah, let me see if I understand you correctly. You're saying you need your customer to help them understand what their customers' requirements or needs are.
Yeah. They know that they've got customer service issues, but they don't know where to start. So let's figure out that roadmap together.
I love it. Man, you're already in the group. Okay, keep on going. Any more, Tom? Or should we go to the next one?
Let's go to the next one.
Okay, define the value stream. How do you do it? Can everybody visually draw a map? If you can't, I'll help you do one right now. We'll do a map right now. But can everybody see how you could draw a map from your supplier to your customer showing the material transformation process, in this case, a service transformation process, the information flow, and the lead time, production lead time, in this case, service lead time? Can everybody see how that can be done?
Yep.
There's data boxes, you make them specific to what you do. I had, I'll give you a couple examples outside of the box. I had a retail store. The retail store said, George, we want to apply the principles of lean thinking. I go into this retail store and I think, okay, define value from your customer's perspective. I'm thinking about this. I'm going to use the mental model called lean thinking, and I'm going to help them design a retail lean thinking model. So the first thing I say in the retail store is what? Your customers want to come in and leave as quickly as possible, right? What do you think they said to that? Somebody venture a guess.
Stay in the store as long.
Say it again?
They probably said that their goal is to make the customers stay in the store as long as possible.
It was.
The whole store.
It was. I hate them. You know, they put the milk in the back. This wasn't a milk grocery store. This was like, you know, a guy's best friend store. They had all sorts of guy stuff. It was catering to farmers and all these people. Yeah, they wanted the customer to stay there as long as possible. Did the customer want to come in and leave? Sometimes, and sometimes not. So we went to the next step. We said, okay, define value from the customer's perspective. They had flyers that went out, and we said, how do we do a test? How do we run a test? How do we see what you can do, and if there is a gap? We circled 20 items on this flyer, and we said, we're going to videotape you, and you know where everything is. You're the team leader of the store. How long do you think it'll take to find every one of these items? If a customer came in and said, I want these, and I've got X number of minutes, and I want to leave. I want to give you money, but I need somebody to put them in a cart for me. How long would it take? And the guy said 7 minutes. We ran the test with no one in the store, even before the store opened. It took 22 minutes, and he made 3 errors costing $600. Now that's a test. After we implemented lean thinking, that went down to 7 minutes with no errors. Pretty good. And we ran that test about 4 or 5 times with 4 or 5 different people before and after, and we know we got the results. So there's many ways to test. Define value from your customer's perspective, and to test, define the value stream. What about make the process flow? Give me examples of how you can make the process flow, guys. Everybody.
Reduce the amount of unnecessary touch points.
Yes. Reduce the handoffs. Absolutely. What else?
Make sure that
Reduce complexity.
Reduce complexity, for sure. That's a guarantee that you'll reduce the lead time and increase flow. Absolutely. Who else?
make sure you're giving the person after you exactly what they need in order to fulfill their part.
Absolutely. Ask them what they need. Don't guess. Absolutely. Go to your customer, internal customer, ask them what they want, how they want it, when they want it. Absolutely. What else?
Level the production or the input from work cell to work cell or service station to service station.
Yes, sirree. By the way, we never talked about this, Doug. I'm sure you know the term. There's There's this thing called muda, which is waste. That's what the Japanese call waste, muda. There's also this thing called muri and mura. Muri and mura. Muri is overburdenedness. Mura is unevenness. So yes, Doug, absolutely. Level the input from the customer or find a way to use a leveling board, right? Tom, back to you. Come on. What else?
Motion and transportation.
Reduce motion and transportation.
Yes, absolutely. Keep on going.
Reduce pickup and drop-offs. I guess that kind of goes with transportation.
Yes, but there's, listen, pickup and drop-offs is motion too, right? Motion and transportation, absolutely. What else?
Make sure everybody clearly understands their role in the process.
Yeah, why? Why do you want to do that?
Reduce rework.
Say it again?
Reduce rework or double work.
Yeah, and you do that, why? How?
Mapping.
Mapping.
Okay, when you designate ownership,
Yeah.
you're getting ownership, you're getting responsibility. So yes, absolutely, all that works. Yes, what else?
Say,
Standardize.
Standardize is so key. Doug, genius. And for leaders, what do you think, even an executive, let's go from an executive, here's another graph that you guys might want to be aware of. I'm going to share a whiteboard, and let's look at the executive versus a line manager. What percent of work is standard routine work versus unique work? Okay, so at an executive level, what would you expect? What percent would be routine?
5%.
For an executive,
Yes.
over that. The line
80.
50% more routine work than the executive.
You guys, I can tell you right now, Vilfredo Pareto is a genius. He figured it out way back when. 20%, okay? Over here, let's say this is routine work. 20% of an executive's time is routine. You can take every executive and identify 1 out of 5 days worth of the week that could be routine. And how, I mean, it's easy to do it. Just get them to log what they do every day. Is this routine? Is this routine? You'll find that daily, weekly, and monthly, they have over 20% routine activities in their schedule. I can guarantee you that. Number 2, if you look at a line, the shop floor, you could basically reverse the numbers and say 80% of it is routine. And this you can go to the bank with. You could say, yes, 80% of it is routine. So if 80% is routine, why can't we, when we have new employees, get them to jump in and follow what's called standard work? Why can't we? Of course we can. We just got to recognize that standard work sometimes is the start of lean. 80% is routine, and standard work is the start of lean. Without standards, there can be no continuous improvement. Henry Ford. We can go through how that works, but that's it. That's a beautiful thing. Keep on going. What else?
Address all your failure points ahead of time.
Yes, yes, absolutely. The ones you can. Absolutely. Who said that?
Sammy.
Sammy, you're already in the group. Very good. Now, what is that? It's predictive, isn't it? failure modes and effects analysis. Isn't that what you call it, Tommy?
Yep.
Absolutely predictive. All right, now let me show you. Let's go on to the next one. Flow and pull. I want you to understand flow and pull, and if you continue to think this way, you're using your lean thinking. Now, I've got to share my screen for this, and I'd like you to see this PowerPoint. And I'm going to tell you, this is 21 years ago that I learned lean. In those days, it was called just in time. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to talk through this. It'll take 5 minutes, but I want you to pay really close attention, because this is the difference between flow and pull. This is pull. And there's a way to go from pull to get to flow. If you cannot flow, if you can flow, put people together. Put people together right now. Don't go through this pain. It's easier to put people together, get the flow right away, than go through what I'm going to show you. But this is usually enlightening for a lot of people who don't know how to think about pull. Okay, again, the 7 wastes. You can think of wastes like a water level, and here's your ship, and the number of wastes could be considered Kanbans. Have you guys heard the term Kanbans? Tom, have you worked through that?
Yep.
Okay, good. The number of Kanbans could be considered the water level of this particular ship. When you reduce the inventory, you expose problems like changeover, equipment reliability, paperwork, planning, quality, process design, material handling. You get the idea, correct? So what do you do to increase flow? Now think of this as a river. If the water level of the river is high, is the water moving fast? Yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
No. I always design the question so I get the wrong answer. If the river is high, lots of water, the flow is not Whitewater Rapids. It's slower. If the water level is considered the speed at which it's going, then if you lower the water, then you get more movement, more turbulence. The water's moving quicker. So what you want to be aware of is this. As you lower the number of Kanbans, your flow, your velocity of water increases. I'll show you how it works. Now, 2 rules to Kanban. Never move material or start work without an open Kanban. This is so easy to design. I don't know why companies don't do it. It should be designed into every process. Number 2, never pass on a known defect. Too easy. 2 simple rules. Now let's assume these rules are being followed, which is easy to do, easy to understand, hard to do. Here's the mechanics. Now I don't care if this is a computer, it's information, I don't care if it's a retail store. There's something called inventory, and for every piece of inventory I might have a Kanban. How many Kanbans do I have in this system? And you look at the workflow here, this is water flow. If I'm on the right hand side of the screen, the way you're looking at it, if I'm on your right hand side and I pull one item, work center B takes an hour and work center A takes an hour. How long will it take for me to get this item here all the way over here? How many hours do you think it'll take? Everybody spit out numbers. On a first in, first out basis. I'm not cheating.
2.
3.
Okay, so let's follow this.
2, 3.
Okay, if I don't hear 9, 10, or 11, it's wrong.
9, 10, or 11.
Hours. Yeah, right on. Okay, because it's in there somewhere. I did the math, whatever. It doesn't matter how long it takes. As long as it's a big number. That's the point. The point is, after I pull one item, on a first in, first out basis, this is the next item to get pulled. Everybody agree?
Yes.
Yeah. Good. Then work center B has a Kanban. It's an open spot. It's a Kanban to do work. They grab what they need, only when they see the Kanban. They pull what they need, they do the work, they're working on it now, and as they pull what they need, this Work Center A sees a Kanban, and they start doing work. So far, so good, everybody? Raise your hand if there's an issue. Any issues?
No issues.
Good. And Work Center A is working. Let's assume the cycle time is 1 hour for each of them. And by the way, the warehouse sees this at some point, and they bring you something, or your supplier. And you could set up work environments like this everywhere in your organization. Now, next thing that happens, Work Center B fills the Kanban. They stop doing work because they have no more open Kanbans. They could have 15 going, and they still are working, but not on this particular one. Work Center A fills the Kanban, and then the warehouse comes in and fills the Kanban. All right. 9 hours later, we could get the first item that came into this little pocket here. So far, so good, everybody.
Yes.
Yep.
Do you want to set up your Kanbans with a high level of inventory or a low level of inventory?
Low.
Low.
Okay, everybody write this down. High level of inventory. High level of inventory. Everybody write that down, please. Start with more inventory than you need so you have nobody complaining. And what the math is, if you want to know the math, is the inventory level should be the demand during that lead time plus any safety stock. That's Apex terminology. It works good in this scenario. So if I am going through 9 items an hour, 9 an hour. Let me rephrase. If I go through 9 in 9 hours, 1 hour an item, and I've got errors, I've got defects, I better have more Kanban so I can resolve the errors and defects in time. Everybody agree? I'm the manager. I don't want to be stressed out. I don't want to be running around everywhere. Everybody agree?
Yes.
Good. Then what happens is we get good at what we do. We start solving problems as a team. Then I, as the manager, am going to do something that everybody's going to get mad at me at. I'm going to lower the water level. I'm going to reduce the number of Kanbans. I'm now going to challenge my team to go solve problems quicker. And as they do that, you'll see now the velocity of the water changes. I pull an item, the work amount is still an hour. Now they pull, and it's 6 hours now. After all of this gets done, it's 6 hours lead time through this scenario. Okay. That's called a pull system. One trigger for the whole system. You cannot have 4 triggers, just one. That one trigger causes everything else to move. Lights should be going off. Everybody should be getting this if they don't already understand it. Good so far? Any questions? I'll stop here. Any questions?
Nope. No questions.
Okay, here's the big question. What is the holy grail of lean? What is the holy grail? What is lean striving for in an operational setting? And the
Eliminate
answer
waste.
is single piece flow. How do you get single piece flow? You can do it 2 ways. You could put people together and move one item at a time, or you can have people apart, balance the workload, and reduce the number of Kanbans to 1. Does everybody see this? I'm going to click, and I want you to see what's happening here. I'm going to click. A Kanban opens up. Work Center opens up. Does everybody see what happened there? I did this, I don't know, 10 years ago, this little diagram. I still love it. I don't know. I get excited about it. I don't know how I did it. I did it with PowerPoint. But look at that excitement. I love it. You pull, something happens, and you, as the leader of this team, are sitting back and waiting for problems to arise. Now, what happens when a problem arises? Anybody
You
care to
fix
venture?
it quickly.
Okay, let's be specific. What happens when you're the manager and a problem arises in this area? How do you handle that situation? Your worker, call him Sam, says, I'm in work center B, I got a problem. What do?
You fix it.
How? Yes, you're going to fix it. How do you fix it?
You have to understand what the problem is first and what the root cause is.
Yeah, right. Okay, so who's going to understand the problem and the root cause? What happens? Tell me what happens.
Start talking to Sam.
Yeah, who's talking to Sam? You as the manager?
Yeah.
Good. Now, what happens when Sam says to you, I don't know what to do? What do you do next?
All hands on deck because you've just shut that line down.
Yeah, good. I like it. Now, if you're at
All
single piece
works
flow,
fast.
if you're at single piece flow, it will be all hands on deck because nobody can do anything. Do we agree? Nobody can do anything. If Sam shut down, everybody shut down upstream of Sam. And sooner or later downstream. Everybody agree?
Yes.
Good. We want Sam to do something though. In Lean, we want to develop people. We want Sam to get developed in problem solving. So me as the manager, I would say, Sam, what do you think you should do? And he'd say, well, I think we should do this and this and this. Okay, Sam, how do we get this line started? That's question number one. How do we get this line started? All hands on deck. Who said that? Elaine? Who said all hands on deck? Doug?
Doug.
Okay, Doug, you're in the group now, too. Okay, we'll have you in. You're in. All hands on deck. Let's get this fixed. Number two, we want to prevent this from happening again. So what do?
You improve your process.
Right. We just uncovered a rock. That rock, which I showed you earlier, is something that was not capable of providing inventory, information, materials at the speed that we needed it. So therefore, we got to improve that. So what we'll do is we will increase the water level. These are all just different kinds of Kanbans. We'll increase the water level and we'll start all over. We'll increase the water level and start working on that as a long-term project and solve that problem. Any questions so far on this? You guys can have this PowerPoint slide too. You get it through time. Did you guys like it? Like on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being an excellent presentation, what do you guys think of that one?
9.
I heard a 9.
We like your enthusiasm.
Oh, damn. Okay. So it's not like the best presentation in the world. Okay. All right. Okay. Good. My enthusiasm's awesome, and I'm getting you guys motivated, right? You're ready to change your behavior because of this PowerPoint presentation, which I so enthusiastically love. Do you guys see the difference? You guys got to love what you do. Love what you do and love the people that work with you. And you work for them. Okay, now let's get back to the discussion about pull versus flow. If you can flow, what do? Give me examples of where you would flow right now. Going back to your departments, what can you do to get flow? Single piece flow or flow in general. What can you do? Give me examples.
Give me complete requirements from the beginning of the process.
I love it.
Having
Yeah, give me visibility. I love it. Who's that?
Sammy again.
Damn. Sammy, you get a choice for who you bring in the group. Okay. You better develop that person, Sammy. Okay, let's go. What else?
Establish in-process Kanbans.
Yes, I love it. Establish in-process Kanbans, but when we're looking at flow, remember, Kanban is anti-flow right now. Kanban is what's called a decoupler. It decouples one operation from the next. So that, the fact that you're saying Kanban is kind of a pull. But yes, in-process Kanbans work. So Doug, you're either really, really smart or you're really, really
You
smart.
don't have to go any further.
We'll go there. Okay, let's go. What else? All right, give me an example right now. Somebody who can go back to their work environment tomorrow and can think of a real live situation where they could create flow if it was up to them. Somebody raise your hand, please.
Anyway, on our side, standpoint, we need to ask the right questions to get the right requirements to the engineer.
Okay, good. I heard most of that. Can you create flow where you're going? Can you almost do it right away?
Standardized stuff.
Yeah.
Standardize, if they standardize things.
Yes, and how would you do that? How would you do that then? If they standardize, so what would you do first? What would you do second? Would you try to go for flow, or would you say standardize is a rock that we got to solve, and then we go for flow?
Standardized.
Yeah, right on. And that's what you call a good challenge. A good challenge or a good next target condition is that's your project. That's what you want to do. Okay, keep on going. What else? Anybody else?
Well, you have to establish the rate of demand in order to create that flow, and that's part of going back, George. That's if you'll forgive me, that's part of the reason I had to establish in my workplace in-process Kanbans.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
We couldn't totally level.
Okay, so you're right, Doug, and let's talk about the rate of demand. You can do it by trying to predict the rate of demand, which we know is wrong. Like every forecast is wrong. First definition of forecast, we agree, right? Yes?
More than you know, my friend. More
Yeah.
than you know.
Good. And number two, we can also develop some flexibility. How do we develop flexibility? How have you done that, Doug?
In my process, we're hamstrung a little bit, George, with batch processing because of monument equipment. So in a foundry, we have 1,000-pound furnaces. The customer may only require 500 pounds, but we will not produce just 500 pounds.
No, I agree.
We will maximize that furnace to 1,000. And then of course we have to, adjust the flow downstream.
Right. Now that is, listen, that you also have a gating system, and you got like what we would call is byproducts when you make these items too, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, like it's crazy. I used to run a foundry. I tried to implement lean there. I thought, how do you do that without investing a whole ton of money? How do you do it? Very difficult. So I sympathize with you. Okay, anybody else? Finally, let's move on. Did I leave a second there for somebody to answer? Please, Tom, hold me back when I get all excited like this, please. It's crazy.
No, they're good. They're good.
Yeah, they're good? Yep. Okay, let's move on. Let me show you what is already on a website for Mike Rother's website, and I'll show you what Mike Rother has done, which I think is quite unique. He's taken this thing called lean, and he said, you know what? We're missing a pattern of thinking. This problem-solving skill companies do not have. We need the science and a kata. A kata is like a routine of solving problems. So deliberate practice plus a scientific thinking. Here's a visual, and this explains it. And I do this with my students in Belgium, Australia, and Switzerland, and everywhere else. I teach over the internet. I get them to do an iteration. And I say to them, okay, tell me your target condition. And they'll say something like, we need to ship every 2 hours. That's a target condition. Currently we ship every 4 hours. And I say, okay, good. What's your next target condition? Well, my next target condition is that I got to talk to Bob and make sure that he releases work to me every hour and a half, so I got time, something like that. And then I'll say, what's your next step? They'll come up with it. They'll say, my next step is this. And then I'll ask, what do you expect to happen? And he'll say, I expect this person to do this and get me this information. I expect this to happen flawlessly. Okay. Then I let a day go by. Then I ask him the next day, after they're done, what did happen? And he said, well, I don't know what happened here, but I never got this, I never got that. This came in a different way. So then the question is, what did you learn? And if you look at this graph here, between what you expected to happen, think about this. If you PDCA, plan, do, check, adjust every day, you expect something to happen, and what actually happened, if there is a gap, that's the learning sweet spot for everybody. Learning sweet spot. This is what he goes after in his model. I really like it. Jeff Liker likes it, and it's really easy for me to coach over the internet. Let me show you now. This is a good visual. If everybody in an organization thinks about the vision of the company, here's where we're going. That's the direction. I got a challenge for my area. Here's my next target condition. There's a saying that was said by Jim Womack. Managers, whatever, lean people, will do everything simple and wrong before they do the one thing that is hard and right. How many of you connect with that? Okay, good. Because it's true. So I challenge people to tell me everything that is simple and wrong, and I get them to decide when they're ready to do the one hard and right thing. Tell me all the obstacles. Which one do you want to go after? You're going to be done by tomorrow because I meet you tomorrow. So every day they make an improvement, and they get there. They get to their next target condition, and then the one after that, and they start meeting their challenges. One-on-one coaching over the internet works. I can't believe it, but it works. All right. Awesome. That's it. That's all I wanted to show you there. There's a coaching kata, and the coaching kata is a series of 5 questions. And of course, you're going to do value stream mapping and everything else. No difference. I'll try to show you the 5 questions. And then this is strategy deployment. I told you about BJ Fogg. Oh, this is a good one. We'll get back to that. Here's something you need to know too. Wherever you are in your organization, wherever you are, whatever you see, there's this thing called your threshold, current threshold of knowledge, which means you know what you know and you can see up to a point. After that, it's fuzzy. You don't know what's going to happen. And if you got a good coach, they're taking you into this zone called uncertainty. Each step is another move into this uncertainty zone. And sooner or later, they coach you along to happiness. When you hit your target condition, you're happy. Right? That's it. Okay, there's all these things that we're not going to go through, but here's the questions a coach would have, and this makes it fractal in nature. If you use these questions everywhere in your organization, you start working with learners, you as a coach start working with your learners on a day-to-day basis, moving them up the hill. What is the target condition is your first question. Number 2, what is the actual condition now? You get your learner to answer these questions. If they can't answer them correctly, coach them. Ask them questions. Coach them along. Tell them, coach them on saying the thing that you know to be true. That's why they're learners. You already know what's true. Then what happens is they take a step. They move through the step. You ask them, what actually happened? What did you learn? Then this coaching kata here says, make sure you have all the obstacles that this person has, that they see, all the obstacles they see on a board, Ask them which obstacle do you want to go after next. And we're done. What did you learn from that? How quickly can we review your work? You as a coach, if you wanted like a simple card to put in your pocket, those are the questions to ask your learner. And what happens is you move them up into this zone of uncertainty for them. It might also be the same zone of uncertainty for you because they are the expert of their area. But you as a coach, you're going to give them permission to go experiment daily and learn as you go. This is the new world of lean that I'm injected into now, not just the 5 principles. I'm into Toyota Kata and the Jeff Liker methodology of the philosophy behind lean, which is achieving a target in the least waste way. And the least waste way is for the person trying to achieve the target to learn on their own with encouragement by a coach. Okay, I'm almost done with this, and depending on how much more time you want to give me, I can just share a few more slides, which would take 20 minutes, or we can kind of wrap it up here and say, George, I love your enthusiasm. Your presentations suck, but your enthusiasm's good. That's what I'm going to get from this one. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so what do you want to do, Tom? Where are we at? Questions, Q&A? Should I ask questions? How do you want to proceed? Very flexible.
What do you guys think? They're writing this stuff down, so give them, let's do the, maybe the additional 15, 20 minutes, do a quick Q&A, and then wrap it up.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm open. I'm here for you.
And
You are
they
my
said
customer.
that your presentation, man, it's just, they love it.
Can we actually get these slides?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can have them all. You can have them all. Tom, I've got an entire database of Mike Rother stuff so that people can put onto their computer and not have to go onto a website. They will have all of the videos, all of the information, everything on a zip file, which I will get to you in the Dropbox. So all of this stuff will be in there, okay? And when they scroll through the database, it's like going through an online course for free.
Oh, okay, great.
Okay.
And they're going to sign up for your online course, too.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and on the other side, I'll send a note later. Kyle, I didn't see any of the Six Sigma stuff in that file.
Yeah,
you know,
I
that
think
we
he's
had-
got to go by my house, pick it up off the server. I probably didn't bring it with me to Florida. So, yeah, you'll have. He's going there today, so make sure you do it today or tomorrow.
Yeah,
Okay.
all these slides, I'll make sure are in the Dropbox for these guys, too.
Yeah, and one more thing, Tom, I'm going to make you a coach in my course so that they can ask you questions from within the course, and this way they don't have to bother me.
Okay, good. Good.
Okay, fire away, guys. Come on, make it challenging. I hope you got something out of it. I'm hoping you got questions. So if you were to ask me today, I'll wrap it up then. If you were to ask me today, what is lean about? In the past, I would have said eliminating waste, doing things in the least waste way, achieving your targets. I would have said something like that in the past, being 5 years ago. Today, I would say lean is about learning how to do PDCA, learning at the Gemba, and then coaching self-developing learners to be coaches. In other words, coaching people to be coaches of other coaches. That's how we get lean in an organization. It is so interesting that having that definition of lean makes all the difference in the world between success and failure. Maybe it's a little more philosophical than you'd like, but I can tell you that it's exactly correct for me.
Hey, George or
Yes.
Tom, have either of you worked with the company or consulted for a company in terms of managing their or improving their mentorship for leadership? I guess
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, that's a
That's
tough question
I
because.
think
Go ahead, Tom.
that's honestly that. Was that Doug?
Yes.
Yeah. You know, that's part of when we go in and we coach, and we were talking about that in here a couple of times, is that you have to coach the leadership. If you don't coach the leadership, that normally what I find is that's where most of the problems lie. They need to be coached to be leaders, right?
I got you on tape there.
In fact, Tom, you had mentioned it. I don't know if it was last week in our facility or this week, but kind of going back to Jack Welch with GE, Welch's replacement, and that's at a very high level, obviously, but the replacement wasn't a Jack Welch, but the methodologies or the culture was firmly rooted. So you almost had a mentorship at the executive level of, hiring within, bringing people up through the chain that had already been through this culture change, if you will.
Absolutely. Everybody needs a coach. The CEO needs a coach. Everybody in the organization needs a coach. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody needs an external coach. Like
Correct.
George mentioned earlier, you start coaching and then you coach the coaches, and then the coaches are coaching other people. It goes down, but everybody needs a coach.
You'd hope so. And Tom, you're so right. Now I'll tell you that there are people, highly functioning individuals that don't use coaches. For them, I can just say that I feel bad for them because they're not getting the benefit of having a coach. I don't care who the coach is. My coach could be my wife, but it's not. It's Paul Akers, Norman Bodak, Jeff Liker. I've got coaches, but I can tell you right now, many times I've been wrong. She'll sit there and listen to some of my meetings. She'll tell me what I'm doing wrong. I listen to her now. I used to resist to high heaven. I listen to her now, and I take her advice firmly today. Now, she's kind of my coach. Now, when I ask her, how can I improve? What do I do? She actually gives me answers. That's good coaching. She's got to break it down for me so I understand what it is I'm doing. Why am I coming across that way? How can I be misinterpreted by just you and everybody else is okay? But it's usually in my head. I think I'm okay, but I'm not okay. A coach, if they're a good coach, first of all, they will get your interest. You will want to learn. Jeff Liker actually uses a coach for music lessons. He wants to go back 30 years and be a good musician. I've listened to him play. He sucks. I mean, I never said that. He wants to be a good musician on the guitar. I'm just kidding about the sucking part. He wants to be a musician. So he uses his coach. He says, can I get an assignment this week? What do I do? And then also his coach gives him assignments that says, don't do anything else until you do that. Come back and demonstrate this ability that you have. And we'll see if you can move on to the next lesson. So a good coach will not move the student further than mastery. This is another key thing. If I were to say, if I miss saying something today, that would be it. A coach works with their students towards mastery. Not acceptable. And Doug, I've got a lot of students that have gone through my course. Unfortunately, they start somewhere in the middle. I've got great managers going through it, great directors. I don't have those CEOs saying, I want to do an online course. I don't have them. This is very unfortunate. And that's my only challenge with CEOs, is they always know more, they're always smarter, they have an ego. I love it. I got an ego too, but I'm willing to learn. And not only that, I consider myself a 50% learner. Every day, I learn 50% of my time during the day. I go for 2-hour walks, is what I'm saying, Doug. And all I do is I pop off another audiobook, one a day almost. 2.5. Does that answer your question, Doug?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we start in the middle usually, and it's unfortunate that we do that. It takes longer, and usually we get a lot of great people, and then finally the owner says, I can't support the way you're coaching, George, so I need to get coached. Good. We got a problem, and you're it. That's great. Any other questions?
Nothing on this end.
Okay, Tom, if you can do a Hansei, you don't have to do it now. You can do it later on what went well today and what can George do to improve. I would really appreciate that. I want to get better and better every day in every way. Oh, by the way, use a mantra. Figure out your mantra. Whatever it is, mine is I want to get better and better every day in every way. Saying that daily keeps me focused. Good. Take care, guys. Have a great, great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, George. Appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you.
Okay.